Hi, and welcome to the Mentor Minute. This is the show where we help mentors solve problems having to do with their salespeople. I am your host, Tim J.M. Rohrer. Today's challenge comes to us from Ashley from Atlanta. She manages a sales team of 8 local sellers, and she has been concerned that fewer salespeople are coming to her weekly sales meetings each week. So this has been a trend, she tells me, for the last couple months, where she notices that people will give her a call the night before or the morning of, or just send her a text saying they're not going to be able to make the sales meeting. And she's seen attendance dwindling to the point where she often doesn't even get a majority of the team to be at the sales meeting. So I asked some clarifying questions. I said, well, what is it that these people are doing instead of coming to your sales meeting? And she says, well, most of the time they're working. So they tell me that they have another sales meeting, with a prospect or a customer that is going to prohibit them from coming to her meeting. I said, okay, so these people are not just calling in sick, or saying they need a mental health day or otherwise making an excuse why they can't come to your meeting. She said, no. She said they definitely are doing other sales-related activities, which is why she's kind of let it slide, because she feels like she can't very well tell them, you can't meet with a customer, you have to come to this sales meeting. So I wanted to ask her some coaching questions after clarifying what exactly the problem was. And I said, well, why do you suppose people aren't coming to the meeting? Or what reason do they give you when you ask them, why do they schedule sales calls for a time when clearly the meeting has been on the calendar? She says that most of the time her salespeople say, well, the customer couldn't meet any other time. But she senses that that's not really the case, that in fact they're purposely scheduling time with customers during her sales meeting time so that they have a good excuse not to come to the sales meeting. So I wanted to help her get to the bottom of it and help her explore, what is going on. And so I'm trying to pull it out of her by asking, what is going on at the meeting that's causing people to not come? After all, let's start with this premise. Most of the time, most people will do what is in their best interest. So if they're skipping a mandatory meeting, they must feel like it's in their best interest to go do something else, even though skipping the meeting might result in some sort of punishment. So the meeting must really feel to them like a waste of time if they think it's in their best interest to do something else. Ashley recognizes this, and she's been thinking about it a lot. And she is a very introspective person. And she decided that maybe part of the problem, or all of the problem, is that the meetings are boring, or they're not directed towards information that the entire group needs. And I said, well, how do you mean? She says, well, one of the things she does in a sales meeting is she goes around and asks each individual person for 2 or 3 prospects that they think they're going to close in the next week. And she says when she does this, she notices that the other 7 salespeople end up looking at their phone until it's their turn. And I said, okay, so it's not so much a sales meeting for the group. It's just that you gather everybody together so you can have individual one-on-ones with them. And she said, well, yeah, I think that is what I've been doing. So it became pretty clear that she needed to change that, and she needs to make the sales meeting more about the group. And we talked about the fact that it would make sense to schedule a one-on-one for forecasting with each person individually. It doesn't have to be long, 15, 20 minutes once a week. And the other thing she might consider is if she doesn't have enough content to do a sales meeting every week, why not do it every other week? Just because you've always done it every week doesn't mean you always have to do it every week. So Ashley went away with some good action points, if you will, things that she promised that she was going to try to do. And I felt like we went a long way towards solving her problem. If you have something that you would like to talk about on the Mentor Minute, please write to me, tim@timrohrer.net, or find me on LinkedIn and let's connect there. Meanwhile, one programming note, Sylvia from San Diego wrote in to say that she disagrees with the name of the show. Actually, she didn't write in. She just told me at dinner because Sylvia's my wife. And she says, the show is called The Mentor Minute, but it usually lasts about 5 minutes. So why not call it the 5-Minute Mentor? Well, that made a lot of sense. So I'm going to be rebranding the show, and you'll see that rebranding here in the next couple of weeks. Meanwhile, let's get after it.